Joining me now is criminal defense attorney and host of the Courtroom Confidential podcast, Josh Ritter. Josh, always good to have you. Still not a lot of clarity in this case. What are you making of these new reports that Konanki's parents want her declared dead?
I think they're just trying to get some movement in the case. I imagine that they're stuck in this sort of a limbo condition where it's still considered a missing person case. My heart obviously goes out for them. I think it's a tragedy. I think they've wrapped their heads around the inevitable that this is likely not going to be something where she's going to turn up somewhere alive. She's likely not to be recovered alive at this point. So I think they just are doing their best to try to advance this as a person who's died and get to the bottom of how that actually occurred.
So do you think this is more about closure for them rather than changing the scope of the investigation? I mean, would declaring her dead give them any new legal or investigative routes to take?
Well, I don't know. I think it might be turned over to perhaps a different investigative department at this point. At least in the U.S., we understand the cases of missing persons are treated differently than people who have died under, either call it unexplained or suspicious circumstances. So perhaps they're hoping for some sort of advancement in the investigation. But I think you're right, too. I think it gives them closure. I think it gives them the ability to start to make arrangements back at home for services related to her death.
Let's also talk about this other college student who was the last to have seen her. He's not been named a suspect, but his attorneys say he's been forced to stay at this hotel under constant police supervision. And his attorney's coming forward saying he can't be detained any longer without being charged. Do you agree with that, Josh?
Absolutely. And I would characterize it as a detention as well. He may not be in handcuffs. He may not be behind bars. But listen, if you've had your passport taken away, you're under constant police supervision, and they're not allowing you to travel about freely, and they're not allowing you to return home, most importantly, that's a detention. And so the argument being made is, if you are going to detain my client, then produce evidence to justify that, to give us a reason for why it is that he's not allowed to return home. If he's not a quote unquote person of interest and he's not a suspect, there really isn't a reason to continue to keep him in that country and have him under constant watch.
Yeah, I know there's a habeas corpus hearing scheduled for him later on today. What is a habeas corpus hearing, and what do you think the judge will end up deciding today?
A habeas hearing is essentially doing what I just said. It's a demanding of the government that they explain why they are holding on to someone. So in this case, they're making the argument that this is a detention. Again, doesn't matter that he's not behind bars, doesn't matter that he's not confined to a prison cell, but he's being detained. And if you're going to restrict someone's liberty, somebody's freedom, you have to justify that. There has to be some sort of evidence to support that, some sort of due process to allow him to argue against that. And that's exactly what this habeas petition is the beginning mechanism for.
And quickly, before I let you go, what evidence would they be waiting for? I mean, obviously a body, but what else?
It's funny because we've received a lot of evidence. I don't know if we know everything, but you would think if there was something out there that would somehow show that this was beyond a tragic accident, we would have heard about it already. Short of being able to recover her body and perform an autopsy, I can't imagine what that evidence would be, and that we would not have heard about it already.
Yeah, we'll see what today has in store. But yeah, we have two grieving families right now. We'll stay on top of this one closely. Josh Ritter, as always, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Talk to you next time.